What's happening? John from Long Island Punk Band Wrecked. I figured I'd make a video of some of the most recent vinyl purchases I've made over the past few weeks. Like 5 albums. I figured I'd bring them up, show them to you, and tell you a little bit about them. No real news about the band. I mean, as much as anything else, right? There's nothing going on. Hopefully we're back to playing music again after things calm down a bit. All right, the first album I want to talk about would be this one right here. This is Napalm Death, the early demos from 1985, 1986. Now, I don't know if you don't know what Napalm Death is. They're a death metal band, grindcore band. They spanned a lot of different genres over the past 40 years. Nobody on this album is currently in the band. And a matter of fact, they went through lineup changes like you wouldn't believe. You can go on Wikipedia and see. It's a bit brutal. This particular album, matter of fact, has side A, side B. Side A is Hatred Surge demo, which was recorded in 85. Side B is From Enslavement to Obliteration demo, not the album, the demo, recorded in 86. And this has two different lineups. I mean, different drummer, but the first one, say Hatred Surge, is Nick Napalm, Justin Broderick, who went on to play in Godflesh, Miles Ratledge on the drums, and I think Pete Shaw on the bass. The second side has Nick Napalm, has Justin Broderick again, and I think Nick Napalm did the bass, and then you have Nick Harris, which on the drums, which he took that band in a different direction. I mean, the inventor of the blast beat, probably. You can debate it, but I think that's pretty fair to say. He brought that band in a different direction. So this album has two different sounds to it. The first side is more of a hardcore punk sound and more along the lines of like an old DRI almost, old Minor Threat. That whole early 80s, hardcore sound is really encapsulated. And it's not derivative, it's not like they copied it. It's their take on it. And these guys were 16 or 17 making this record. I mean, 16 or 17. When I was 16 or 17, I was, trying to learn Iron Maiden riffs and Metallica riffs on guitar. I wasn't writing songs like that. I didn't write songs until well into my, late teens, early 20s. But side A, like I said, it's more of a hardcore sound. Side B is again hardcore, but leaning more towards grindcore. They had just more of a chaotic sound. A lot of the songs are duplicated on both demos. And you can hear the difference, like Instincts of Survival, which was one of my favorite Napalm Death songs. The early one versus the later one a year later. I mean, same song, but vastly different. It's just great to see, the progression of the band. And that's what I'm all about when it comes to music. I always have been. I like to find out where these guys came from, their influences, see where they got their sound from and where they are now, compare, see what happened, Case of Napalm Death, it was a lot of lineup changes, like I said, that brought them into, a different area. And I can go on from the whole video about Napalm Death and where they, and I probably will after, not this video though, but they deserve that kind of attention because they are one of those bands which has career spanning, almost 40 years. And it just is so influential in every a genre of grindcore. I mean, they were playing crust punk when they started, like more of a crass sound. I don't have any of those recordings. I don't know if they're even available. But I saw this available and I picked it up and I picked it on eBay. And I love it. So if you like original aggressive music, check this out. Napalm Death, the demos. It wasn't all that expensive either, so you can check it out. Next one. Next one is this Sarah Shook and the Devil. Sarah Shook is a country artist, and I became aware of Sarah Shook from a Facebook group that I'm a part of, and they had posted, "What are you listening to?" Right, and they had her album. I forget which was Sidelong, I think it was called. And I looked at it, and there's just her picture on it. She looks like a lunatic, and I'm like, I gotta check this out. So I go around YouTube, find it, and it's outlaw country, real low, depressing stuff, right up my alley for country. That's how I like my country. I don't like the the party country that Florida Georgia line or whatever that other shit is. That's not country. That's pop. This is country. This is outlaw country in the vein of Waylon Jennings or Hank Williams or any of that stuff. Willie Nelson. This is actually her. They re-released this. This is her first EP. I think the same guitar player's in her band now. Her band's now called the Sarah Shook and the Disarmers. I think he's on it. But I figured I'd check this one out, and I wasn't disappointed. I got this off of Bloodshot Records, I think, puts it out. Rust-colored vinyl is always cool. But I got it on her Bandcamp because I had tickets to go see her, actually. She was coming to Ridgewood, Queens, I think last week or the week before last, and of course canceled, so I'm listed on that. And so hopefully I do get to see her, because she's awesome. And if you, like I said, if you're into real, authentic outlaw country, Sarah Shook, check her out. She's really good. I think she was born up in Rochester, New York, and moved to North Carolina. But it's not. She doesn't put on any types of performance like no fakeness to her. She's the real deal as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, stuff you can really sink your teeth into. Check out Sarah Shook. Okay, this next one is a little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. One of my favorite movies, soundtrack. I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's a great movie. I mean, this came out in '97 on the tail end of a lot of good resurgence of horror flicks. You had the Scream movies, Urban Legend, what else? John Carpenter's Vampires. There were a bunch that came out one after another. Disturbing Behavior, The Faculty. There was these were just good movies, well written, and this was one of them. And this is about the franchise itself. It had Sarah Michelle Gellar, who I loved at the time, still do. I loved her at the time. Jennifer Love Hewitt. Had all those characters, and it's great. I watched it with Joanne. We watched it a couple weeks ago, and it still holds up. It's a great movie. But what got me about this particular one, I had gotten to see it in the theater, and it opens up with a real eerie shot of the ocean, and the first song you hear is "Summer Breeze" by Typo Negative. I'm a huge Typo Negative fan. I've seen them live a bunch of times. It's really upsetting that that won't be hearing that from them at all anymore. But I did get to see them 3 or 4 times, and they were a phenomenal band. Real atmospheric stuff. But this particular soundtrack has got a bunch. I mean, it's got a Hush by Kula Shaker. I mean, I don't think you ever heard from them again. DUI, The Offspring, Green Apple Quickstep, never heard of them. This Ain't the Summer Love, L7. L7's a great band. Losing It by Soul Asylum. Soul Asylum, I could take a leave. It's got My Baby's Got the Strangest Ways by Southern Culture on the Skids. That's a fucking phenomenal song. Real ramshackle type fucking music, It's just rock and roll. I love it. And the rest of this is, I don't know, nothing really. Korn's on it. I didn't even realize I'm Proud. Not a big fan of Korn. But I am a big fan of horror movies, and I am a big fan of this particular horror movie, What You Did Last Summer. Again, it's just, I can't talk enough about Typo Negative about it. The Typo Negative stuff you really can't get on vinyl. You can buy the box set, which is $1 million. I'm not going to do it. But they're one of my favorite bands, so I figured I'd get it in one of my favorite movies. I'm a big fan of horror movies, I always have been since I was a kid. And this is a real good flick. So check it out. Who's next? Next is the soundtrack to the film The Beyond by Lucio Fulci. There's really not much to say. He's an Italian director. I'm not a film guy. I couldn't tell you. I know that he directed a lot of the movies that I consider my favorites. This particular one, The Beyond. Check it out. If you can, I'll open it up. Just real creepy, creepy cover. I love that. Even creepier gatefold. Put that up there. Scare the shit out of you when you're a kid, right? This particular album, it's just, again, soundtrack music, real creepy stuff. You put it on. I put it on when I'm just hanging out. It's got the cool green splatter, vinyl. I actually got this off of on a Facebook group for horror movies, because these get a little pricey, and the guy was selling it, and I told him, hey man, I was just recovering from my operation, as a matter of fact, my surgery, and I told him, hey man, looking to get this out, check it. He took the price down by like $10. I was very happy. He shipped it right away. I got it within a couple of days. Let's see, Fabio Frizzi, he did the music on this, another Italian guy. But it's a great flick. It was actually, I first saw this movie when it was called Seven Doors of Death. And it freaked me out when I was a kid. So when I saw it on, I think I saw it again on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Shudder, and I was like, "Whoa, man!" And this is actually part of a trilogy of films that Lucio Fulci had made. It was this one. It was House by the Cemetery and City of the Living Dead, which is also called The Gates of Hell. And actually, the trilogy is called The Gates of Hell trilogy. And they're just real, they're overdubbed in English. Got a lot of the same actors and actresses. Great horror movies. Again, like I said, I'm a huge horror fan, and I thrive on that stuff. I love it since I was a kid. But this particular album, I can't talk about. Like I said, soundtrack music. You put it on, it's creepy. It reminds me of the movie, and I get into that frame of mind. Cool. But I actually have House by the Cemetery. I just ordered that, so I'll review that in the next video as well. That should be coming soon. But if you ever want to check out a real creepy flick, man, The Beyond, it's called, by Lucio Fulci. He's got a bunch of others. He did New York Ripper. He also did Zombie, which was, or Zombie 2, depending on what version you have, which I think it had the same music guy, same Fabio Frizzi. He probably did them all. But just real creepy stuff, and it's real good, if you're into that. So the last one actually ties into this particular album here. This is a band called Fulchi Tropical Sun. Again, this cover artwork is from the movie Zombie I was telling you about. This is old school death metal, like I haven't heard since the 90s. The whole album, it's intertwined with dialogue from the movie Zombie, and it's very, you could say on one hand it's not groundbreaking. It sounds like Cannibal Corpse, but it sounds like Cannibal Corpse in the 90s when they were, in my opinion, when they were at that peak. And this follows the same blueprint of it, Italian band. I found these guys on, I forget how I found them actually. I was probably just looking at records on Discogs or something, and that came up maybe, and it looked pretty cool, and I played it, and I'm like, wow, it's got the cool red splatter vinyl, which I'm always a sucker for these. And again, I try to, I'm on my high horse and I'm like that, but I try to find these bands and buy the albums direct off them if I can, by Bandcamp or wherever, if they have their site. Or if they come around live, I try to buy them when I see them live. But it is what it is. But these guys, follow the whole blueprint of 90s death metal. And if you're a fan of 90s death metal, check these guys out. Nothing technical. It's not overly thought out. It's just good written songs, brutal, intertwined with horror movie dialogue. You can't go wrong. Again, it's right up my alley. So those are the 5 most recent purchases I've made. So I have a few more coming. And as I was down looking for them, there's a couple more albums I feel like I have something to say about. So until next time, thank you for listening, and be safe out there. Thanks.